Oi, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? Aye? You'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Assassin's Creed 2. Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast. Hello and welcome to VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, where we attempt to find the best game within a very specific category. For example, this week we're looking for the best game that features a shocking betrayal. And to talk about that, we are welcoming back James Batchelor, who was previously a guest on the show when you released your book, The Best Nonviolent Games. Have I got that right?
You have.
I did just look it up because I was like, what if I say the title of the book wrong? He's going to be raging.
Technically, the best non-violent video games, but it will still, Googling the best non-violent games will still get you to the book.
How long
Available
are we
now in the UK and US.
How long are we going to keep bringing this book up? Like, as 3 years' time, he's back on. Like, and he's written a book, Best Nonviolent Games, as if it's like still a current thing we should be talking about.
This exactly thing this is why we're doing it, because and also Mark Warren joins us again today, and
I have to say, Mark.
This was meant to be.
No, I haven't. I was the only person on the other day that didn't have another venture to promote. I felt very left out.
I need to start promoting something myself.
So I know a publisher you can pitch to, Mark, if you've got an idea.
Oh, they don't want my ideas, believe me.
So that was the voice of Mark and not Connor, who I must say is pretending to be ill today so he doesn't have to do this, because now the point is that Tom and Connor, in the weeks following James's appearance, because James won that episode when we basically picked, we were picking, is it a game that didn't feature violence or
a game that didn't feature death?
Yes, didn't feature death, inspired by your book, of course. And in the weeks following that episode, I got a lot of crap from Tom and Connor every time they didn't win, and there were lots of little digs like, listen, should I be promoting a book? Is that how you win the podcast these days?
I just think we've bigged up, like, James didn't create Nonviolent Games, right? He's just written a book about them, and you act like it's the greatest thing that man has ever achieved, and it's like, I mean,
man as in mankind, or that man has ever achieved.
I don't want to ruin James's sales, but there's a website that he runs as well, and a Twitter account that has all this stuff on it.
I'm just saying. I thought, like, you and Connor got really, like, ever so slightly vicious about it in the weeks following, and I thought, well, I'm going to get James back on so you can. As long as
when I eventually at some point get around to writing a book, right? It's going to happen because everyone has to write a book if you're in games media.
Yeah.
Some do it better than others. To be fair, some do it better than others.
Yeah.
The better ones, unfortunately, aren't on this podcast, but. Like, when I do write a book, I hope we promote it like we promote this book.
What would get you on and then get James to insult you as you...
I'm up for that. I'm available to insult Tom as and when you need.
All promotion is fine.
Right, okay. See, this was meant to be some sort of reckoning, and I was hoping, like, to get, like, Tom and Connor looking a little bit sheepish, like, oh god, he's back, I can't. But no.
I'm still hoping. I'm hoping to prove I can win on my own merits today. To prove that yes, the last time wasn't a fluke. Like, genuinely, I enjoy this show and I understand how it works. I'm hoping I've got a winner here.
Yeah, because Tom and Connor are absolutely convinced that I play favourites, that I always let the new people win. That's not true. It took Mark 3 goes to win a podcast, right? Richie Morgan didn't win. Nobody knows who Richie Morgan is, but it's fine. He didn't win because I wasn't going to let that happen, obviously. People are questioning my integrity, and it all started when James came on. So let's get into it. Oh, and as I say, what I was hoping for was Tom and Connor to feel a little bit sheepish and a little bit embarrassed, actually. But Tom is showing absolutely no remorse whatsoever, and Connor has ran away like a giant coward. So we're going to get into this.
Can I go first?
Is there a reason you have to go first?
Well, I just want to
get a book to promote.
I've got some stuff I want to say before I get to my my pick. Right.
All right. That's fine.
Right. So I don't know when this is going out, but I assume it's going out after the one where I made my big return to the podcast.
That would be December the 8th, I think.
So people probably, we don't know because it's recording at the time, maybe have got a bit fed up of my story.
Yeah.
I mean, that time I told a very heartfelt story last episode that actually was true. It was a true story, right? You won't know this, but you will know it when you listen back, but not now, James, is that I discovered in a car journey with my mum that I had 3 unknown relatives, 2 aunts and an uncle, one who's dead, right? So I didn't know about this. She just casually dropped it into conversation, right? But anyway, not at all related really, but this is about betrayal, right? And a very recent event has happened to me that is a betrayal, I think, right? So my wife got home the other day from out. She went out to town and get some bits and pieces, and she brought some advent calendars, right? She got one for my son. It's like a Cadbury, you might have seen it in the shops. It's like the one that stands up like a tower.
Yeah.
It's like Freddo and Curly Whirly and Chomps and stuff.
That sounds amazing.
It is a good one. It's a high-end one, to be fair, like too expensive, whatever. One that's a basic one for my daughter who's a lot younger, just a Cadbury Santa on the front is some bits of Cadbury stuff, and she got one, like a Milky Bar one, right? I was like, where's my advent calendar? No advent calendar for me, right? That is betrayal, don't you think? So I was like, fine, I'll go and get my own advent calendar. So I walked out straight away in a huff, grabbed my coat, it was pissing down with rain. I had to make my point. Straight to the supermarket, right? When I went into the supermarket, some supermarkets like this, some aren't. I walked straight past, there's like a pastry section at the front of the supermarket, right?
Yeah.
And I was like walking past it, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw, well, I couldn't quite believe it, but a small child, maybe 2 years old, sat on a potty. And I was like, what's going on? And then the mum said something like, do a poo. And I was like, what is going on? Like, you're literally right next to the pastries, right? And I just couldn't believe it. Anyway, it's beside the point. I mean, I was betrayed. And my choice for the biggest trading games, strangely, and I'll explain why, is Rainbow Six 3 on the Xbox.
Okay.
Right. So you won't know this about me, but I was quite a big deal in the Rainbow Six 3 community. Why is that funny? I don't even know why. Back then, like, I was like a big deal. I played Rainbow Six 3 quite a lot on the Xbox. Back when Xbox Live was a really exciting thing. Like, it was fairly new and exciting, right?
Yeah.
And I got the nickname in the community as Doorman. I was Doorman because this might be surprising, is that when I entered rooms in Rainbow Six 3, I was very careful. You could either... All right, Jim. You could either like slam the door open, like breach and clear, whatever, or you could edge them open ever so slightly, right? And I used to really slowly edge these doors open and peek in, because I'm like, that's the way you should do it, to be careful. And because I did that so much, edging the doors open, my team would often just kill me before I even got through the door.
Sorry, carry on.
That's it. That is how I was betrayed over and over again. Because I was trying to show care, not just to me, but my team, so that we could sneak into these places. Like, there's that bit where you like if you played it, I mean, it felt a big deal at the time that you could slightly open doors. And I used that to the max, pretty much. Maybe I overdid it.
Yeah. That does sound like a betrayal. So basically, team killing. That can happen in any game, though, can't it?
Yeah, but it was particularly in this game because it was about... They did it knowing that I was trying to be cautious. But they found it hilarious that just as I was about to get through the door, they would kill me.
It is hilarious.
Wasn't for me.
I've got to sympathise with Tom here. Like, I hate it when like you're trying to play stealthily and no one else is. Like a game like Rainbow Six is meant to be played stealthily. Like you are basically trying to take down terrorists without being spotted, and they're just gunning you down. I feel for you, Tom. I do.
Yeah. I feel like you were the only person trying to do it properly.
I was always the worst person on the team. I was terrible at shooters.
Yeah.
But I was at least trying to do it like I was in like the film The Rock. Because there's the Alcatraz map in Rainbow Six 3. You have to go up through the manhole cover thing in the prison shower, wherever it is.
Yeah.
Like peek it a little bit, have a little look, get the little camera up. I don't know if they had a camera, I can't remember, maybe that was Splinter Cell. But I was just very cautious, and other people weren't. They were better at games than me. They could storm in and just headshot everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
In Rainbow Six, can you do like little hand signals like in the films?
I'm sure you can. You can. Yeah.
You do a hand signal and somehow with like 3 hand gestures communicate like a really complicated tactical scenario.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Point of clarification, if I may. Like, you said you were a big deal in the Rainbow Six 3 scene. But you also said you're a terrible player. Was your legend built purely on how you interact with doors?
Look, I overdid that bit a bit, right? I wasn't really a big deal. That was just part of my tale to make it seem... Look, I want to be honest about something. The story I told about the advent calendars isn't true. All right?
Now, that's a shocking betrayal.
It's not true. It's not true. Parts of it are, like I've exaggerated it, right? Mm-hmm. We did get my son a Freddo Curly Whirly Chomp Tool advent calendar.
Yeah.
But that is currently the only advent calendar we have in the house.
Okay. So, if anything, that's an even bigger betrayal that only your son got one.
I mean, we're looking for others, so I'm not calling it that, but I have possibly betrayed the listeners, which I'm coming clean about it.
Yeah, that's because it's on theme. I see what you're doing. Okay, so I'm just gobsmacked by that entire story. I don't know. It just seemed like the most Tom Ori thing to be careful about doors.
This is what you'd be missing. This is why there's been calls for my return.
Yeah,
I'm back.
Okay. Sorry. Right. I'm. That is. I don't know why, but that blew my mind. Okay. Moving on. James, what is your pick for this one?
I thought long and hard about this. Initially I was going to go for like a very kind of fanboy pick of, so I think something like Thief, the 2014 reboot, is a betrayal for anyone who actually enjoyed Thief games because it's just not good enough. Or like something that just didn't match my expectation. I think when you first asked me, I think I'd only just played Starfield, and everyone was going about how rubbish Starfield is. So like looking back on it, actually they didn't say that it would be seamlessly going through thousands of planets. They didn't mention that there wouldn't be millions of screens. So that's not a betrayal. That's our mismatched expectations. All that I thought was stupid because neither of those games are particularly good. So I did want to win this. I have gone with Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert for a 20-year-old game.
This is bad news. I've not played this yet. I literally bought this to play on my Steam Deck yesterday.
Okay, if you want to like step away for a few minutes,
no, I think we should pick something else.
No, it's too late now. It's too late.
I think it's an unfair choice to go with this one, so you should choose something else.
With apologies to Tom, you start off the game as an amnesiac protagonist. The classic "you don't remember who you are," which makes it really easy for them to drop exposition on you. In the middle of a Jedi versus Sith war, and you're trying to work out what's going on and how you kind of stop the Sith war. The Sith war started, the war was started by an evil Lord of the Sith called Darth Revan. You are joined by various companions, including Batchelor Shan, who's another Jedi, and it's all about kind of discovering your Jedi abilities and you're able to use the Force. Well, let's teach you how to use a lightsaber, this, that, and the other, and then doing lots of side quests and main quests to work out what's going on until you finally get to the revelation. Sorry, Tom, you are Darth Revan. You were captured by the Jedi in the middle of the war.
Yeah,
you were brainwashed into not knowing who you are. And then Bastila Shah was kind of assigned to you to kind of gently guide you in the right direction to discover what it was Darth Revan was up to, something to do with the Star Forge and a thing that instantly builds spaceships, and to stop it. Now, this is a betrayal because obviously, it's an amazing twist. It's an absolutely amazing twist. But I felt betrayed because here's this person who's been with me all along, and she's lying to me. She knows who I am. She knows we don't need to train me in the ways of a Jedi. I'm already a fucking Sith Lord. So I don't need to be trained. It felt like a betrayal of well, hang on. If you've known all along, I get why you haven't told me, but it's still a betrayal that you haven't told me. And then beyond that, it's a betrayal of what the Jedi even are. So this game came out, 2004, 2003? We'd kind of middle of the prequel era. At this point, the Jedi were still the undisputed good guys. No one had really thought about things like they kidnap children. And, ingratiate. At that point, I think, if I recall rightly, at that point, we'd only seen one little scene of younglings basically telling Obi-Wan he's stupid in episode 2. But as far as you know, the parents have sent them off to boarding school or something, Jedi boarding school, to learn the ways of the Force. We hadn't had Ewan McGregor in the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series casually mentioning that he was ripped away from his family and his baby brother. So at that point when the game came out and when I played the twist, that was the most shocking betrayal of what the Jedi stand for. And it's the first time in any Star Wars game where I actually felt compelled to go the dark side ending, because usually you go for the dark side ending because I want the cool lightning force powers. This time it was no, you've betrayed who I am. You have completely hidden everything about my own identity from him. You've completely wiped my personality, which is an unspeakably evil thing to do. And you're the fucking Jedi. For you to do something this unquestionably evil is insane. So that's why I did a bad ending. And apologies again to Tom. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is the best game.
I feel like
with a shocking betrayal.
Star Wars fans deserve to be betrayed.
Plus, you don't need to play it now, so James has actually saved you a good
I just glossed over and switched off. I wasn't even listening to any of it.
Good. It's a really good game, and you should absolutely still play it. It's still amazing. It's kind of like the precursor to Mass Effect in terms of the world building, because it's BioWare. I think it's pretty much the main, or one of the last titles they did before they did Mass Effect. It's got a very Mass Effect feel. It still feels really Star Wars. It feels very much like of its own thing. Yeah. It's got shades of their kind of Neverwinter Nights sort of. It's just this amazing mesh of Star Wars, fantasy, RPG, sci-fi. Yeah. Everything that BioWare was brilliant at. Some of the
Mass Effect is literally just okay, we're doing KOTOR without the license.
It is,
we've got to invent our own universe and stuff.
Yeah,
and same with Dragon Age and
Neverwinter. Yeah.
So yeah, and hugely success. I mean, Mass Effect is now a sci-fi franchise that I think in the hearts of many kind of. Not quite rivals, but it's up there. It's definitely something that a lot of people would call one of their favorite kind of universes, which is remarkable, really. And I love the fact that it's kind of come full circle, because Mass Effect was obviously, you could kind of call it a spin-off of KOTOR without the license, but there's a massive kind of Star Wars influence. It's a real hodgepodge of everything people at BioWare were into at the time: Battlestar Galactica, Babylon 5, Star Trek, obviously. And now it's influencing all those things. So Star Trek came back years later, and it just fucking looked like Mass Effect. But that's a tangent about Mass Effect. Sorry, Tom. You'll shout at me about that later. Okay, so Mark, what have you got for us? It's not Midnight Club again?
No. As we've alluded to, I'm a last-minute replacement for Connor, which unfortunately means I haven't had the chance to do what you need to do when you're a replacement for Connor, which is go on itch.io and trawl the dregs looking for shocking betrayals. But what I've done instead is, as we've previously established, all I can do on this podcast is nominate Rockstar Games and fairly okay Streets of Rage 2 reskins. So I've gone with the former. It's GTA 4. I'm catering to things that Jim loves. And it's the shocking betrayal of Nico Bellic by the wonderfully named Dmitry Raskolov at the beginning of the game. So you start off, you arrive in Broker as Nico, fresh off the boat, literally. And you're working your way up through the underground gangs of Broker, which is Brooklyn. and you eventually end up working for a man named Mikhail Faustin, who is a bit nuts. And his friend is slightly less nuts, wears glasses, sensible man, ties his shoes. Dmitry Rascalov. And at first, it seems like Faustin's the loose cannon of the two. He's the one that gets very angry for you with doing the thing that actually leads you to end up working for them. Dmitry's nice at he sees that Nico's wounds are healed after he gets tortured in a basement, which is a thing that just kind of happens in GTA 4 on the reg.
Yeah.
But then eventually, Nico ends up being sent by Faustin to kill the relative of another gangster. Fearing reprisal, Dmitry says, "That's a bad move. You're going to have to kill Faustin because he's off the rails. I can't control him anymore. He's doing 9 million pills. He's spending lots of time at a cabaret club," which seems to suggest that every Yakuza protagonist would also be betrayed by Dmitry Rascalov. But yes. So yes, Rascalov orders you to kill Faustin, and then, once you've done the deed, it turns out he betrays you. He knows one of Nico's old mates from the place that he was trying to escape when he arrived in Liberty City, Ray Bulgarin, and the rest of the game is basically spent with him taunting you from afar by phone messages like an anime villain. And eventually, spoiler alert for a game from 2008 here, you deal with him. I'm not going to say exactly what happens, but things are resolved in a manner that's befitting of a video game.
Yeah.
But yes, it's memorable as well. It's not it's kind of shocking.
I finished GTA 4. I cannot remember anything about the story once you hit the second island. It became, personally for me, this is not me disparaging your choice, and I'm not doing a Tom where I'm just trying to unpick your choice. Like, genuinely, I got quite frustrated with Grand Theft Auto 4.
I love that that's doing a Tom.
Well, it's interesting because I would say that the moment of the betrayal is arguably the moment that the game peaks, because you get that mission where basically Nico's apartment and everything's been set on fire, so it's just this whole everything's burning to the ground and you have to flee up to Bohan. And it does very much feel like a watershed moment in the plot, which is what it's supposed to be, but actually accomplishing that by burning your safe house to the ground, which is the kind of thing that I don't think they'd do now just because people would complain I've got one less safe house to hold cars in, you know.
And God, we've been talking about this recently about GTA 6 and stuff coming back, and about how it just exists in such a it's GTA 6 will be entering such a different world to even GTA 5, and a world where sensibilities are vastly different. We have like almost an entire generation of people who are practically calling for like bringing back the Hays Code when it comes to like there's a whole sort of generational thing where people are like railing against like nudity in films and even excessive violence and stuff like that. So it's interesting.
Is that another link for his book?
No, it's not actually, but it does tie in. So there we go. But yeah, I think it's interesting because GTA 4 there's a lot of really messed up stuff in GTA 4 that I just don't think they'd be able to get away with now. So not without, a bunch of articles being written about them on Kotaku or whatever. But I think, God, it's such a good game. I love GTA 4. I love GTA 5 as well, but I think GTA 4 for me is like the pinnacle of the whole franchise.
It's the atmosphere, which is part of what makes that mission so great, because it's with the fact that the map doesn't have any countryside, you do feel like you're sort of locked in this urban jungle with all of these people that you're being introduced to and contending with all these different underworld figures, and the fact that it is the ultimate cultural melting pot of Russian gangsters, Italian-American gangsters, 9 million other different types of gangster. It's not just your kind of typical Italian-American on Italian-American violence or, the same people fighting each other.
I think that's what disappointed me. Like, I enjoy GTA 4. It's probably my favourite of the 3D ones, with the except, no, I like Vice City, then GTA 4. But I remember playing it, and it was so the way it presents itself is so much more serious. I remember like when you're first given control, you're told to like go to your cousin's like taxi rank, and I actually walked because I didn't feel right stealing a car. I've just got off the boat. Why am I going to cause trouble? But like I remember like there's an early cutscene on like a little beachy bit like under the not Brooklyn Bridge, where he's got like someone at gunpoint, and that's when he reveals like, I'm here, I'm not just here to live the American dream, I'm here to find someone who betrayed me. I was like, oh wow, this is going to have an actual real story, not just I'm doing shit for gangsters. And I swear within like 1 or 2 islands it's like you're just doing shit for gangsters. By the end of the game it's like I'm just doing shit for gangsters. I have no idea who I'm working for, I'm just completing the mission so I get to the end of this game. I had the same thing with GTA 5. Like by the end I have no idea who I'm working for or why I'm working for them. I really wish like they could tell better story, or at least the story they set up, deliver on it. But that's just my...
I mean, James isn't doing a Tom there, to be clear, but Mark, your choice is shit, is what he's saying.
it's shit, but I came up with it in like 5 minutes this morning. So
the effort is amazing.
It's shit. It's shit on a time limit, which is better than just being shit.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think it's a shit choice at all. I love GTA 4. I'm not accepting any of this chat. Okay, all right. We need to pick something now. So I need to press that fucking button. I'm getting really tired of doing this, but they won't let me stop. So. I am promoting a book as it happens. Poor Connor. All right, okay. Right, Ian Dransfield, friend of the show. Well, friend of mine anyway.
Let's bring up these people that you got to think bigger, Jim. You got to think big. I like Ian, right? I've known him for a long time, but nobody knows who he is. Let's just might as well say.
Well, you know who he is.
Just make up names. Just make up anything. Could be anyone.
All right. Brad Pitt. I went to Brad Pitt's house, right?
That's better.
Imagine I'm talking about Brad Pitt, but if you know Ian Dransfield, just replace the name Brad Pitt with Ian Dransfield. I went to Brad Pitt's house with a gift for Brad Pitt, and it was a copy of Fighting Ireland by Conor Macker. And Brad Pitt, if you don't know, is a massive fan of this show, listens a lot. Even actually, he texts me every time he's listened to one because he walks his... I don't know if you know this, but Brad Pitt has a dog who he walks. Anyway, and listens to the podcast, and then I get texts, and I don't know if it's him. It might be like one of his guys, because these people never write their own kind of missives, do they? But I presented Brad Pitt with a gifted copy of Fighting Ireland by Conor Macker, and he was so excited because it was a running joke on the show. Like he smiled, and it was a real kind of moment. I think our friendship, got ever so slightly deeper on that day. So, like Conor's work does change lives, and I don't think Conor gives himself enough credit for that. So he does, make people happy. So if you're listening, Conor, I just want you to keep that in mind. For the next time you run away from the consequences of your actions. Okay, so we've got GTA 4, a game that I personally adore. We got Knights of the Old Republic, a game that I personally adore, and we have Rainbow Six 3, which is a game that I haven't played.
Rainbow Six 3. It's an oddly named game if you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But just before you carry on, Jim.
Yeah. Okay.
Just when you're considering this, think about like the actual, like what's behind each choice, right? Like James and Mark, right? Fine. These things happen in games, right? I mean, I see stuff all the time I don't like someone on TV eating like a bit of cauliflower or something. Like, I don't personally like it. It feels like maybe them liking it is a betrayal to my own sense of taste, right? But I don't go moaning about it on podcasts. Rainbow Six 3 had my being was betrayed, right? It wasn't just something that happened in a game. I was actually betrayed. My friendships were tested. Yeah. So in terms of this,
hang on, were these people your actual friends?
Some of them, yeah, people I still know now.
Name one.
Playing with me. I can't name them because that's a betrayal of their trust that they played the game in secret with me. But
I would hasten to add the category is best game with a shocking betrayal, not best game in which Tom Orry was shockingly betrayed.
It had a betrayal, and it was in a game, and it was also a personal.
No, but
betrayal.
the betrayal is not part of the game. The betrayal is what's happened to your life. The game, the betrayal is in your life.
Best
our betrayals,
game,
Mark and I, our betrayals are within the game.
It was within the game where I was shot in the game, but the point is that it transcended the game. The betrayal, it became a bigger deal, right? I mean, James can talk about this all he wants, but
millions of people will have played Rainbow Six 3 and not had the same betrayal. Everyone who played GTA 4 and console will have had the same betrayal.
Far more unique personal betrayal.
If you are betrayed in a McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Would that McDonald's then feature betrayal, or would it just be a McDonald's that you have been betrayed in?
If I was choosing the betrayals, I would choose it. But the thing is, like, James is on here, right? He bigs it up like, the non-violent stuff, right? Look at this non-violent stuff all the time. Whenever you speak to him, all he talks about is non-violent games, right?
Yeah.
It's the spokesperson for non-violent games because he's just in it for the money, right? And then he comes on here and he's like, I'm picking this game where you go around slashing people to pieces with lightsabers.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit more civilized than that, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure how that's relevant. I mean, it's not.
If you're trying to pick things apart, I mean, do you want to give this to someone who's two-faced?
I'm not two-faced. I very openly say, in fact, I believe I say on the back of the book, I do still play non-violent games, but always on easy or story mode.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trust that book at all now if I did that.
Yeah, I mean, you have admitted to playing to finishing GTA 4, and how can you call yourself an authority on non-violent games if you yourself have? It doesn't make any difference, Tom. What are you on about?
I think things need to be raised so we're aware of everything before we make choices.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna break it. That is a really good challenge from James, though, about the fact that the betrayal you're talking about, Tom Orry's life featured that betrayal. It was not a feature of Rainbow Six 3.
It was. You could shoot people who are on your team. That is a feature of the game.
And as Jim pointed out, you could be betrayed in any game.
Yeah.
So again, making it more part of your life. Like, it's not that betrayal is not inherent to Rainbow Six 3.
Doesn't matter. That is not the name of this podcast.
I wish I could just give you a point for telling the funniest story, Tom, that I've ever heard on the podcast ever. Because, as you know, I lost control of my limbs momentarily when you were talking about how you were very careful to open doors really slowly to the point where people shot you for it, which is possibly the most Tom Orry anecdote I've ever been told, and I've been told like lots. But I can't give it to you, Tom. I'm really sorry, but it's true. It wasn't a betrayal in the game. It wasn't.
I don't know what world you're living in, but it happened in a game, right? It was inside the game. It is in the game. I mean, it could happen to anyone. It happened to me. I bet other people are going to listen to this and go, "Yes, that happened to me too."
It's not a feature of the game, Tom. It's not in the same way that like you can grief people, but it's not like in any multiplayer online
games,
game.
Right?
Like,
lots of games have the option to turn team killing off.
Yeah,
so it is a feature of games, right? You can turn it on and off.
Tom, if you, heaven forbid, if you were mugged in, say, Brighton, Brighton didn't mug you.
I was almost mugged once. I think I was almost mugged. I was in Brighton when I was at university.
Yeah.
And I was walked out of this to the end of this path going to a friend's house who I probably played Rainbow Six. I definitely played Rainbow Six 3 with this friend.
Yeah.
And as I got
he
to
the
the
one
end
that
of
mugged
it,
you?
no. And there was a guy that came along the other way and was like really kind of like aggro about wanting a cigarette. I was like, I don't have a cigarette. He was like, can you show me? I was like, no, I don't have one. Walked off. He wanted me to show him what I had in my pockets. And I just said, no, I don't have one, and walked off. I imagine that was the precursor to a mugging
Yeah.
that I just avoided somehow.
Yeah.
I had a similar mugging experience. I was walking home from the station once. There were three teenagers there. Like, oi mate, give us your wallet. I just said no. They go, yeah, fair, and I just walked on.
I didn't realise there was an option to just decline.
Yeah, well, apparently so. We've all been getting mugs wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I have heard that. Like, I mean, I haven't been. No, I did. Someone just came up and took my phone off me once, but there wasn't a conversation. They just did it. Anyway, I
think basically I got lucky because I'm sure muggings are terrible and harrowing experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't listen to my advice, which is basically just I don't have what they have, or maybe James's advice either.
I can imagine
the
police getting in touch with us and being like, "Can you issue a correction to that advice, please?" Because we don't recommend just sort of telling them to fuck off and walking away.
I didn't say fuck off. I did just say no.
Yeah. I probably would have said fuck off. And probably would have subsequently got mugged. Okay, right. So Rainbow Six. I can't do it, Tom. Sorry. Now, what I love. Now, these are two kind of classic video game betrayals, right? That Mark and James have come up with. Like GTA 4 is. I mean, all Grand Theft Auto games are basically about betrayal, as much as they're about thieving automobiles. But James's betrayal, KOTOR's betrayal is like it is the quintessential video game twist. I don't think it's possible for anyone to do a twist of that magnitude ever again, because like where'd you go from that? The character you've been playing the entire time is the villain. It's like it's the most classic revelation, and I think people still talk about it to this day, even though it's like a 20-year-old game. Because I mean, nobody talks about plot revelations in Morrowind, which came out in the same year, because nobody can remember them. But everyone remembers the bit where you find out that you are Darth Raven, and it's still a bit of and it's great the way it plays out as well, because when you think back, it's like, oh yeah, there's absolutely nothing that's happened in this game that has contradicted that. Like it's a perfectly played twist.
This is just like, Jim, when my friend at college told me about the plot twist in The Sixth Sense. I literally blanked out all of what James was saying, and you come back later. Blah 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 blah.
Why didn't you blank out?
I didn't know you were going to repeat it again.
Well, of course I'm going to repeat it again. I have to summarise what people have said.
I'm sorry for anyone who's had it ruined, right? I assume Jim, being professional, would have not brought up the whole plot twist again, but fine.
Are we going to have to spoiler tag this for...
No, don't. Just make it ruin it. Ruin it for everyone.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, if you ruined it for me, I mean, no one deserves to know anymore.
Right, okay. Well, look, I think personally that you know what? You were like, I want to prove that I can win the podcast on my own merits. You've done it twice now, James, because you did win it on your own merits, because this idea that I only let you in because you were promoting a book, I mean, it's not my book. So I just thought you did the best pitch that day, and I think you've done the best pitch today. So
thank you, Jim. Thank you.
So that's 2 wins. So in the running with Connor for whichever slot he's on. And thank you very much for listening. So Knights of the Old Republic is the best game that features a shocking betrayal, and I think it's such a all-encompassing betrayal, because it's the game, in a meta sense, is betraying you, because you thought you were playing one character and it turns out you're another character entirely. The Jedi are betraying you. Your character has essentially betrayed you, the player, as well, by not being who you thought they were. There's lots of layers to it, and I think it's a bit of a head fuck, frankly. So I think it's perfect. Right, please leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice if you think we deserve it, which I think we do this week. I think last week was a bit of an ask, but this week we should be fine. And leave us a comment if you have a better one, or if you just want to complain that Tom didn't win again, etc., which it seems to be all we get now. Why isn't Tom on the podcast? Why is he on the thumbnail when he isn't in the podcast? Why didn't Tom win? Tom. Why don't you just fucking marry Tom? You can't, because he's already married, and that would be bigamy. Right, okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.